It is 2024, and does the 6D Mark II measure up? Let's find out. Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Mr. Playkala right here in an exciting episode. Yes, so today we just want to talk about what everyone wants to talk about, and that is the 6D Mark II. Yeah, now this camera is I could say so much, but here on the Ugandan market this camera is selling like hot cake, and yeah, I think people have reasons as to why. So we just want to dive in a little bit and talk about this, should I call it like a beast of a camera? Maybe, maybe not. But yeah, we want to find out why the 6D Mark II is still one of those cameras that, you know, people are running to. And yeah, let's find out. Okay, so guys, this 6D Mark II is a full frame camera, okay? And it comes with a number of features that I would want us to talk about. I am not too much of a specs person, by the way, but I usually just like to share things out of my own experience, out of, you know, what I've at least seen. Okay, so I've actually used the 6D Mark II for quite some time. Yeah, and I could really vouch for it. It's a pretty solid camera. But you know, before we get into all the nitty-gritties, starting with the price. The 6D Mark II here on the Ugandan market, you get it for about 4 to 5 million, between 4 to 5 million. That will really depend on the vendor where you're buying it from, but also you have to be very keen, because you might get yourself refurbished, not exactly new, so you have to be very keen on those kind of things. But if you're buying it on the second-hand market, or if you're buying it used, you'll get it for about starting at 3.5. Yeah, if you get yourself a really good deal, then you'll get it for maybe 3 million or 3.2, around there. Yeah, but these cameras are really good at what they do. It's a workhorse. Yeah, it's built like a tank. So let's dive in and see what this camera has to offer. One of the key features we would talk about is this vari-angle touch screen. This camera, if you do selfie vlogging or those kind of videos, this camera is definitely going to do that for you. You can change your settings on the go, and the beauty with these Canon cameras is that they've made the menus so easy, and you can access pretty much like 85% or 90% of the settings just here on the screen. Yeah, so that is something quite exciting. Again, this is a 26.2 megapixel full frame CMOS sensor. Okay, Canon has one of the best sensors like worldwide. That is nothing to hide. And yeah, this if you're a photographer, this is definitely a good camera. If you're into wildlife, maybe not, but if you do portraits, weddings, where you don't really need too much speed when it comes to, because it will give you I think 6.5 frames per second if you're shooting in continuous. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, exactly, so that's what I'm talking about. But this should be really fast enough if you do like weddings, or you do no more photography, portraits. Yeah, if you're into wildlife, you might need to invest in something way faster, but still this would do the job. Yeah, so this camera gives you maximum ISO of 40,000, which is expandable to 102,400. I hope that makes sense. But you know, really, you're not really going to use that. I really doubt you would use that. But yeah. So this camera comes with a 45 cross type autofocusing system. This is a bit old compared to what most people are used to now, because most of the mirrorless cameras come with, you know, like you have focus points all over the screen, over 4,000 focus points, you know. So, but yeah, this gives you, and the sad thing is these focus points actually, you know, they are cracked in the center. They are all fixed in the center of the screen. So if you have a subject that is going out of the frame a little bit, you might miss on their focus. But I mean, we can't complain. This is what we've been using the whole time. Yeah, what else can I say about this camera? The build quality is amazing. There's no doubt. The ergonomics feel really good in the hand. For those of you who have been using these Canon cameras for some time, the likes of the 5Ds, the 5Ds and the 70Ds and the 60Ds, and you know, they all feel amazing in the hand. Yeah, you can reach all the buttons wherever you need them. It really feels good. I wouldn't really complain about that. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the video specs. This camera will give you 1080, that is full HD 1080 at 60 frames, at 24 frames, at 30 frames. Yeah, that depends on the shooting mode you use, NTSC or PAL. PAL I think is usually for Europe, and then NTSC is for like North America or something. But yeah, some of us don't really mind about those things. Yeah, so you get to shoot 60 frames per second, yeah, in full HD. Yeah, you know, you get a little bit of slow motion and it works just fine. So this camera doesn't have 4K, unfortunately, but you know, here in Uganda, who really cares about 4K anyway, if you're not shooting music videos? Yeah, but the rest of us, you do weddings, you do documentaries. I mean, people still watch 1080 full HD and it seems like the gold standard. So maybe not a big deal for some people. Right, so this camera, guys, is going to give you a dual pixel CMOS AF, and this is pretty much what Canon brags about. Like, their autofocus system has always been on top of the line, especially in these hybrid cameras here. So of course this has the dual pixel CMOS AF1, yeah, and now the mirrorless cameras have 2, which is a lot better. You know, like they have eye detection. Like I am shooting this video on the EOS R8, which can actually see my eye, and that is pretty amazing. So it will lock onto my eye. It doesn't matter where I go. And by the way, if I move out of the frame and I come back, it will come straight to my eye. That is pretty amazing. Yeah, but this camera is pretty decent. It will also track your face. It has face tracking on video, so I think that is pretty awesome. Now, many people have been talking about the 6D Mark II, especially here on the Ugandan market. Like, many people are wondering, should I buy this camera? Who is it for? You know, is it worth it? Because there's a lot of buzzing with mirrorless cameras, yeah? And yeah, many guys who are trying to get into the industry have these kind of questions, and they are wondering, like, is it worth it? Like, should I really upgrade to mirrorless? Or oh, by the way, there's those who want to upgrade. If you've been using the 6D Mark II, definitely you would want to upgrade. But if you're just beginning, this is an amazing camera. Like, I wouldn't I wouldn't say otherwise, yeah? But also maybe just something for people to consider. Let me not forget, let's talk about the pros and cons of this camera, okay? I'm not too much of a specifications, specs guy. I like to experience something myself, because most of the time what is on paper can differ from the actual experience, the field. That's why many of you buy amazing cameras which have all the specs, but then you do not utilize them. You don't, camera ne muzikozesa ebintu nga tebivaayo, So let's talk about the pros and cons. But maybe let's start with the pros. This camera here, you see, right now comes in at quite an affordable price. Again, on the Ugandan market, 3.5 million. You can get yourself a used but not too old of this camera. Maybe someone has used it for a year or two. Yeah, in good shape. 3.5. That's pretty fair for what you get in this camera. The other thing, it comes with the Canon LPE6 battery, and this can run you, if you're doing photography, it can run you almost a day of photos, but also that depends on the kind of mode you shoot in. Yeah, but this is a pretty good battery, so that's a pro. We have to give it to the 6D Mark II. Yeah, the build quality is also a pro, guys. This camera is quite long lasting. If you dropped it, I am sure you can pick this camera up and go back to shooting like nothing happened. So it's a very solid camera. EOS HT, yeah, that is the 6D Mark II for you. The other thing is, this camera does autofocus. I won't go again into those specs, but it gives you autofocus in photos and in video. If you're a videographer and you use gimbals, doesn't matter, even if you do handheld, compared to like the 5D Mark III that many other Ugandan fellas love. I hear people talking about the 5D Mark III and how amazing it is, and I'm thinking, come on, like if I'm doing video, don't tell me, because I need autofocus, okay? If I'm using a gimbal, I'm not going to be trying to get my shots in focus, then at the same time I'm trying to compose. That's a lot of work. This camera gives you that, and it's pretty decent. The image quality here is good, and this camera, by the way, performs well also in low light situations. Why? Because it's a full frame sensor with 26 megapixels. Now, maybe some of you don't know, but when you have a camera with a lower megapixel count, it will likely perform better in low light compared to when you have like a 45 megapixel camera on the other hand, because those pixels also contribute to the noise. Yeah, I bet some of you didn't know that, but yeah, that's something for you to consider. So this camera in low light, it will perform decently well, especially if you start to lift up and the dynamic range is again decent, okay? Yeah, stick to the end of this video. I'm going to show you how I would actually set this 6D Mark II. Oh, I should do that in a separate video. Maybe I should do that in a separate video. Yeah, again, we are talking about the pros and cons. This camera uses the EF lenses. Those are Canon's full frame lenses, yeah? I think I'm out of the pros, right? Let's talk about the cons. The cons, it doesn't shoot 4K. That is a bit sad. In the modern day, like in 2024, even phones shoot 4K. So you want a camera that can actually go and do 4K for you. People who love 4K and people who are into music videos, high-end wedding photographers, and people who are into high-end productions, definitely 4K is now the standard. But if you're starting out again, you can't complain that much. That's why I'm thinking 4K being as a con, that's a bit debatable. It's on a scale, because some people 4K, it's overkill. The other con is it doesn't have IBIS, which is right now a big deal for so many content creators. IBIS means it has a stabilized sensor. So you guys, let me show you something here. So there's a sensor in there, and how this works, IBIS, it's in-body stabilization. The sensor is actually stabilized. So when you're having your shaky hands, the sensor will try to counter your shake. You understand? This doesn't have that, because that's mostly in the newer mirrorless bodies. Okay, there's no DSLR with IBIS actually. So I mean, yeah, unless I'm misinformed, but that's what I know. So this 6D Mark II doesn't have that, but it has something in similar to that, and that is the digital IS movie. They call it the digital movie IS. And if you see here, if I turn this into video mode, so here you can tap on enhanced or digital movie IS. That is what will try to stabilize, and that works pretty much like a warp stabilizer in Premiere Pro. The difference is you have that right away, and it crops in a bit onto your footage. It crops in a little bit, but that's what it comes with. So I think I want to give my conclusions on this camera. If you are in the Ugandan market, this camera is still valid, so valid. And if your budget is about 3.5 million, you can get yourself this 6D Mark II used. I think that is a really fair price for what you get in this camera. This camera still has, I would say confidently, that here on the Ugandan market, it still has 5 years ahead of it. It will still be valid in the next 5 years. So that is like 2029. Because many of us are still trying to get our heads together whether we want to go into mirrorless. Some people even fear mirrorless cameras. That's a funny bit. But the 6D Mark II, guys, is still solid. I would vouch for this camera in 2024. I feel it's a camera you can still buy. So maybe let's talk about other options that for the same price range you can opt for, if not the 6D Mark II, because maybe someone is interested to know that. So you've heard of the EOS RP, the little brother or sister of the EOS R. The RP could actually be a good option. If you don't buy this 6D Mark II, you can get yourself the RP, because it will give you the 4K. It also doesn't have IBIS anyway, but at least it has 4K. It has more focus points when it comes to focusing. Its focusing system is, of course, slightly better than the 6D Mark II. The RP is basically the R, but in a smaller body. Does that make sense? So the other camera that will directly compete with the 6D Mark II is the EOS R. That big, solid. In fact, the R was the very first mirrorless camera that Canon produced. It was more like a testing camera, but it turns out to also be a hot seller here in Uganda. I like to refer a lot to the Ugandan market because I've realized the Western world is cut out different. Like, they have all the resources. Most of the time they have these tools, and any time from now someone is upgrading. But here Abannayuganda bakalakata, Abannayuganda mukalakata ebyuma. Ekyuma okikwata n'okikalakata paka nga kikalidde. So that's why I refer a lot to the Ugandan market. But yeah, again, the RP, the R, yeah, the other cameras are pretty entry level. I mean, let's not talk about them. Yeah, so, oh, and by the way, the R8 is also a good buy, but that's a bit also on the high. But if you have about 6 million, you can get yourself the R8. If you have about 6.5 and 7 million, you can get the R6. Yeah, when it's used, because the R6 at 8 million, you will get it new at 8 million. That's just for the body with nothing else. So what would I pair with this 6D Mark II? If I had to buy it, I would buy a 24-105 lens. Yeah, let me show you guys that lens. It's right here. 24-105. This lens costs about 2 million here in Uganda, but if on the used market, you can still get it for like 1.5. Oli waba agikalakase nnyo ojja gifuna ku 1 million ng'agikalakatidde ddala, but likely then it would have issues. So you're better off buying this new, though I doubt we really have new lenses here in Kampala. Most of these lenses, even from shops, come mostly refurbished. Yeah, so yeah, but at least this is a good lens option for the 6D Mark II. Yeah, the other lens that I would recommend to buy with this camera is a 50mm. And those are all the lenses you need to do no more portraits, and you can always rent or hire other lenses when you need them, like the 70-200. Yeah, I think I want to end this video here, but I vouch for this camera here. It is still worth it, and I think it's a very nice camera. You guys should temugisuulirira bannaye 6D Mark II. Osaaga gwe. Yeah, so if you have any concerns, if you have any questions about the 6D Mark II, please let me know. Yeah, but this is the camera, guys. Yeah, temugisuulirira. Please let me know if you have any comments about the 6D Mark II, or if you have any other better options with the price range, then please let me know in the comment section. Also, go check out the other videos that I talk about, you know, other different things. If you're new to this channel, kindly consider subscribing. That means a lot to me. It helps this channel grow. And if you've enjoyed this video, also please give it a like, and you can as well share it with your friends. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye.